I have my moments of introversion, but now I've learned when I have those moments, I accept them as opposed to thinking it's a character flaw.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Pineapple Improv Show. I'm your host, Mike Brown, and today we are talking adaptability, how to use improv to help you adapt better in your work life. Today, joining me is Dan Stabb, coming all the way from Wilmington, Delaware. Dan, how are you doing?
I am doing fantastic, my friend. How about you?
Oh man, like I told you before we started recording, I stayed up way too late last night, way too late, so I could use a little bit more sleep.
Fair enough. Or caffeine.
Dan, tell us a little bit about who you are, who do you work for, what is it that you do?
My current role is I wear two hats. I'm the director of admissions and professional development at a coding boot camp called Zip Code Wilmington. So we teach our students how to become either software developers or data engineers in 12 weeks with the hopes of helping them getting full-time roles after the program is done. So like I said, with the two hats, I oversee the entire admissions side. It's sort of a we have a two-person crew right now, thankfully, who is somebody who has really helped me with the admission side of things. So that involves facilitating assessments. I do group interviews where I use a lot of improv activities. And then we do final interviews also. And then the professional development is where every week I'm teaching classes on, or co-teaching classes on resume writing, interviewing, active listening. I have an improv class in there. Thankfully, I've been able to integrate improv into my professional world. And so it definitely influences a lot of what I do for sure.
How have you used improv to adapt between these multiple hats that you wear at work?
I mean, a big part of it is that, and I mean, it's a little bit cliche, but every day is different, and I often have to balance both priorities at the same time. Especially at certain points of the application cycle where we're approaching the end of the application cycle, but I'm also teaching the pro dev stuff. So it has definitely allowed me to be, I want to say, pretty resilient with things, and that I can switch the hats pretty easily and be present in whichever focus area that I need to put my primary focus on at that given point. It allows me to roll with the punches when things don't go as well as ideally, or when things can get overwhelming at times.
Before you started doing improv, how did you deal with unexpected changes in your life?
Not well. I mean, if I'm being honest, I think improv has definitely allowed me to learn how to navigate those changes. I think I was probably more, I don't know if reactionary is the right word, but it was a lot easier to get overwhelmed
Yeah.
when the unexpected happened, and to really not have an understanding of how to handle it. I have my moments of introversion, but now I've learned when I have those moments, I accept them as opposed to thinking it's a character flaw. Like I just know there's a part of me who can want to be a little bit more reserved at times, but I much more outgoing and gregarious than I would have ever thought I would have been, especially even in my early 20s.
Dan, can you think of a specific example in your current role where you had been thrown to the point of maybe kind of losing your cool or maybe not dealing with that change very well, and then ultimately having to kind of like center yourself and then adapt or pivot accordingly?
Yeah, there was a time where we were working with an outside constituent, and we were trying to we were trying to plan something together which would have involved sort of their audience constituents and ours. And I think with the benefit of hindsight, I think we were all kind of talking past one another a little bit, and it's I think I wouldn't say it never got to the point of heated, but I think there were definitely times where you can feel the frustration, the mutual frustration that might have been happening. And then I had to step back for myself and be like, okay, what can I be doing with my part? And I remember an important thing, an exercise I learned a long time ago that has really benefited me, especially in these types of situations, is sort of a no bad ideas brainstorming session where it's like, okay, 10 minutes, every idea that gets said gets written on a board. There's no yes buts, there's no no's, everything is written because I think what was happening is we were, to use improv terms, we were yes butting each other a lot. And so what we were finding is that we were not moving forward. So we did this exercise where we, like the no bad ideas exercise, all of a sudden within 10 minutes, we had a whiteboard full of ideas. And now as opposed to pinpointing or trying to micromanage or pinpoint every bad aspect or every potential downfall of any particular idea, we had this whiteboard. It's like, okay, what do we want to focus on? And we would focus on this aspect first and then talk through that. And then we focused on this aspect next and then talk through that. All of a sudden, within a day or two, we had the program that we had spent probably months trying to cultivate. We finally laid the groundwork for it in 2 days.
Dan, I want to pivot a little bit. Speaking of adaptability, I'd like to pivot a little bit, and I'd like to play a short form improv game with you called Fresh Choice. Are you game? Are you familiar with the game?
Let's do it.
Awesome. So, for those who are not familiar with the game of Fresh Choice, Dan and I are just going to do a basically a two-person scene, and at various points in our conversation, I will tell Dan fresh choice, and he will have to change the last thing that he just said, creating a brand new reality, essentially. Excellent.
Cool.
So, Dan, you ready to play?
Let's do it.
Excellent. Your suggestion for an opening line is we're currently in the month of December, so let's go with snowman.
Okay. Cool. Frosty, listen. We have been at this over and over and over again. We just need you to stand there, get ready, because the kids want to be able to decorate you for the holidays.
Fresh choice.
The kids want to be able to dance with you during the holidays.
Fresh choice.
The kids want to go on national television and have a big production with you for the holidays.
National television. This is everything that I've ever wanted. I, I can actually take off my magic hat and spin around, and maybe we can make snowmen an actual realization around the world.
I think we can. I think I can picture it that they're just like the Rockettes.
Fresh choice.
I can picture it that they're just like Rockapella.
Fresh choice.
I can picture it just like they are the entire cast of Phantom of the Opera.
Fresh choice.
I can picture it just as if they are the entire cast of Friends.
And scene. Excellent. So stupid, so silly, ridiculous. Fresh choice. What a weird, silly, fun game. Tell us a little bit about your experience in playing this short form game, and what is happening in your brain every single time that I say fresh choice.
So I know, like, I've played this game enough times where you know how to set, like, you're going to set yourself up. So I'm going to keep my as I'm moving towards the end of my sentence, I know I'm going to keep my suggestions simple, knowing that I'm going to get fresh choiced, or at least having a strong instinct that I'm going to get fresh choiced.
So
So,
part of what you're talking about is anticipation, right?
mhm.
So I think anticipation and adaptability play with each other hand in hand.
Hmm.
pretty much. So, using a little bit of anticipation and adaptability, um, how does this short form game transpose into work life? How can you use that skill of maybe kind of looking ahead a little bit, or having that anticipation of, oh, something is going to change, and then
Hmm.
being able to pivot?
Yeah, because it's a big balance you have to do because you have to anticipate, but you have to leave yourself open to authentically receive, the message, whether it's in the short form game or whether it's at work or in real life, that I need because even in the anticipation, if I was already planning what I was going to say after Rockettes, I might, and let's say you didn't new choice me or fresh choice me there, I'm probably not listening to you because I'm too focused on that next thing I'm going to say. Whereas I can anticipate a little bit, so I understand that something is going to happen here. But for me to respond as authentically as I possibly can, I need to make sure that my brain is open to yes and. Um, I forget where I read it, but it really reframed how I see yes and. How yes and is listening with the intention to understand, not just respond. And that was
Ooh,
a bit when I saw, I wish I could take credit for that, but I cannot. And I wish I could
ooh,
find who said it. That I think is the balance that you're talking about,
yeah,
is making sure that I'm not just trying to say the first thing that comes to my mind. I'm trying to say the most authentic thing I can in response to what has been given to me.
I get that. Dan, I want to thank you so much for being on the show today. This has been extraordinarily helpful. I love talking with you. I want to have you back. Folks, that's today's episode. I sure hope to catch you back next week, where we'll have more improv advice and tips and tricks and everything work life related within improv for you. So until then, have a great week. Happy December, and we'll see you then.
Thanks, everybody.